We got another version of it in conversation. This morning I've got Mr. Tom Williams. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Good. I'm fine.
Good. Nice decor and everything on here, I think.
Yeah, this is the
nice
Crown.
place.
This is our friend's new pub, but we live in here. It's amazing. We love this place.
It's your front room.
Yeah, we love it here.
So, obvious question to start off with everybody really is how did you start playing and what got you into it in the first place?
At school I learnt saxophone and violin. I was in choirs and orchestras and all sorts. And around the age of 14, I was at boarding school, and my year was too big for the dormitory that the second year was meant to be in. So 2 kids were picked out of the year group they had to go and be in a little room on their own with the sixth formers. And this terrified me so much that I just locked myself in my room. And I got a guitar, and over that year I taught myself guitar, kind of curtains closed. And around that time I then gave up everything. I gave up violin, I gave up sax, I gave up the orchestras, I just played guitar. And I just sang Oasis songs and got into Bob Dylan.
What made you pick up the guitar? Was it the music you'd heard before and think, I want to do that? Or?
Yeah. I saw other kids playing it, and there's something magic about that instrument. It's so portable, and it's just amazing. It's so cool. I like the idea of everything being in that one place, being able to sing and play and do it all. And also it was playing the music that I loved. You know, I was playing all this classical music and jazz music on my sax and my violin, and I wasn't actually at the age where I was really into it.
Yeah.
So guitar just suddenly took everything I'd learned musically, and then just enabled me to, you know, bring that into the now.
So that grounding in the other instruments helped with your guitar playing. Or?
Yeah, it's reading music.
Yeah.
Obviously, violin you use the same hand to fret the string or to press the string down. So I think I picked it up quite quickly. And also I started writing quite quickly as well. As soon as I had a couple of chords, it was sort of any excuse, really.
So what were the early influences on the guitar, or well, musically generally?
Well, when I first started guitar, it was probably Oasis. That was my first CD, my first cassette.
Which one was that?
It was What's the Story.
Okay, yeah.
And then I found definitely maybe in Sainsbury's. I thought this must be the second album.
Yeah.
This isn't as good at all. This hasn't got as many hits on, you know. And then when my English teacher heard that I was playing guitar, he pulled me aside and gave me 3 CDs when I was about 15. And those 3 CDs just changed my life. It was Bring It All Back Home by Dylan. I'd never heard any Dylan before. Yeah. Transformer by Lou Reed, which obviously led me into Bowie and Iggy and The Factory and Velvet. And then a Jonathan Richman Greatest Hits, which led me adversely into all kinds of rock and roll, but also back into the Velvets, because John Cale produced his first record, but also into people like Loudon Wainwright, people who dare to make a joke, and to use that as a real kind of, it's a real, humour is something that's rarely tapped into, but it can be a real disarming, alarming kind of, I don't know, it's a whole other tool that people don't normally use.
It's just weird, because that reminds me of the movie School of Rock. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Jack Black's giving out CDs. You've got to go and listen to this by Yes or whoever.
Yeah. Check out the keyboard solo on Last Reggae in the Sky or something.
So that actually happens in real life. That's quite a good story.
Yeah, and I saw that English teacher like 10 years later. Because I remember the band were on Loose Ends, I think, on Radio 4. And in my head I thought, Mr. Carpenter would listen to this show. I wonder if he'll listen. And we were with Clive Anderson, and he said, what was your first influence? And I said, this teacher. And I said, but this teacher was always really mean to me on the football pitch because I had these white boots and I was a bit crap. And I think if you've got white boots and you're crap, then you're just going to get a kicking.
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, Peter came up to me and said, I heard you on Loose Ends. I wasn't that mean to you, was I? And I said, you really were.
So was there an actual moment in your life, or even when you started playing, or even seeing other people playing live, or
it would have been kids in the boarding house, playing. There was a kid called Nick, who was just, I can't even remember his surname. He was a bit quiet, and quite thoughtful, and certainly not the normal kind of kid that was in the boarding house. Who played amazing. He was amazing guitar. He had these really thin, long fingers, and he was just amazing. A lot of finger picking stuff. I mean, at the same time, friends were giving me CDs. The first Ryan Adams album I got was Gold, so his second record. And then Elliott Smith as well, I got into the Either Or album. But it's really interesting because all of these albums, if I was going to turn people onto those artists now, I couldn't have picked better records. You know, Bring It All Back Home is Dylan's breakthrough record, actually. Although the folk record and the protest stuff gained him the wider audience, Maggie's Farm and Subterranean Homesick Blues and Tambourine Man, those were his first radio singles. Yeah. Similarly, Either Or for Elliott Smith, that's the middle record, that's the record where it's going from home recordings to studio. Around that time, he does the Good Will Hunting soundtrack and he gets the Oscar nomination. And then Gold for Ryan Adams, that's his 70s record. That's his, you know, you've got the Born in the USA-esque cover.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's got that big FM rock thing and that country. It also got me into country, that, you know.
And there's Jonathan Richman did something about Mary and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Showed his sort of slightly different side.
That dry delivery. You know, the songs that really caught my ear were you couldn't get a drier delivery than Lou Reed.
Yeah.
You know, something like New York Conversation. And then you've got Jonathan Richman, Abominable Snowman in the Supermarket, or you've got... And I love Dylan's really bitchy breakup songs. You know, songs like Desolation Row. You know, like those lines like, I got your letter yesterday about the day the doorknob broke. When you asked me how I was doing, was that some kind of joke? You know, that's kind of like, so good. You don't get better than that.
Did that inspire future sort of lyric writing? I mean, because you've got some great lyricists there, apart from songwriters.
Yeah, but also it's also a certain kind of delivery as well.
Sort of slightly offbeat, I suppose.
Yeah, my voice was my voice had just broken, and I used to sing a lot when I was younger, but I certainly wasn't confident about singing. Age 14 or 15, and it kind of gave me a focus, you know. And it wasn't like. It was never... I was always big in art as well, and I was in art, we were always looking at influences, but then working out how to take those lessons learned from those artists and then make something original or new out of them. I think Dylan and Lou Reed and Jonathan Richman just showed me that what kind of songs or what kind of stuff I could talk about. And when I heard Dylan sort of tell a story or tell a joke, it didn't make me think, I need to tell a story like that. It just made me think, I've got a story I can tell as well. And it just could have gave me an excuse. And at that age, all I needed was the sniff of a rag, and then I just went. And I've probably written like a couple of 100 songs a year since, you know.
So you said you started writing quite early on. I mean, and obviously you got some great influences there. So when did you actually first perform any of your songs?
Only age like 19. The first gig was at the Forum in Tunbridge Wells, which is like a legendary venue.
Yeah. And
then from then...
how'd you get in there?
They sort
of big stage, you know,
they used to do a Sunday night acoustic thing. They'd bring the stage onto the floor, and they'd have bean bags and sofas around and stuff.
A bit more low-key.
Yeah, and my second ever gig was at the Grey Lady, which was a venue just over the road, like a more acoustic-y thing.
House, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And Paul, who did them, I mean... I was one of the first kind of 15, 20... acts at the Grey Lady at that time, and in that group of people, when that venue started, I met Ant, who became guitarist in The Boat. Josh, who played bass in The Boat, was one of my first fans. And through there I met Chris, also played keyboards. He used to just come and watch. And through Chris I met David. So I met everyone at the Grey Lady.
So you were playing solo at the time, presumably?
Playing solo at the time, and then suddenly started getting a group together, yeah.
But that's quite often that happens with local bands, isn't it? You get all these people, and then they all sort of, the better ones, sort of get together. I was doing something with some of the guys involved with Mott the Hoople, and that's how they happened. They all sort of came from the best bands in town, and they all sort of came into the band from town. Sort of.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. I mean, Ant, who's sort of since become my kind of sidekick, my right-hand man in sort of everything I do, musically, he had been there, done that. He was a bit older than us. He had been in bands all through the 90s and stuff, and he was sort of the real deal, you know. And we originally bonded over, we both had a Gibson acoustic. Okay. Nothing's really changed. That's all we talk about.
Guitarists.
Really. Guitars, yeah. And he's just got a beautiful voice, and he was singing, I think, with his now wife, Fee, who was also sung on loads of Boat albums as well. And has just sung on this new acoustic stuff that I'm doing as well. So it's all kind of swings and roundabouts, and actually what's happened recently with this new acoustic stuff is I've re-fallen in love with those original records.
Yeah.
You know, I suddenly realised, I remember Bob Dylan again. I kind of, when I first got into him, it was the early stuff, and then it was the 60s, and then it was Nashville Skyline, and then it was Self-Portrait, and then it was, New Morning, and I've now suddenly gone back and I've realised those early records, and I've realised what you can do with an acoustic guitar.
So is that the case? Because I mean, was Tom Williams and the Boat like the first band you'd ever been in, as such?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I was in various kind of grunge bands when I was at school.
Rite of passage, I think.
Played shirts and like jumping into drum kits and that kind of stuff. Nirvana was my second love after Oasis. Yeah. And then it was probably Elliott Smith, and then Bob Dylan.
So with the Boat, how did that all? I mean, obviously you met the people in Tunbridge Wells and got together and started playing. So how did that sort of take off? Because I'm relatively successful.
Yeah, well, we did a lot. We worked really hard. We did 5 EPs in about 18 months.
Was that a little plan? Or just the way it turned out?
Well, at one point we were waiting for someone to find us, we were waiting to put out this first record, which we had over-romanticised in our head somewhat. But we were getting played on local radio, and then by the second EP we were getting played on Radio 1. We played Radio 1's Big Weekend when it came to Maidstone. Yeah. So bizarrely we were kind of supporting Madonna.
Oh, really?
But we were playing...
claim to fame for the autobiography.
But we were playing... That on that introducing stage, we were playing with bands like Gold and Silvers and White Lies and all that lot coming through at that time. And then we did sessions for Radio 1. By the third EP, we were getting played on 6 Music. We played Glastonbury and Latitude and Bestival and Green Man and Secret Garden Party, and we're doing everything. And then in the end, we thought, we can't wait any longer, we're going to put this record out ourselves. So we phoned up the only guy who had ever made a recording of a standard. And that was the chap that we had met at Maida Vale when we did our Radio 1 session, Simon. And we did our first 2 albums with Simon. One in London and the second one in our rehearsal space in a big brewery in Kent. And we just did it. And we started self-releasing and financing everything ourselves. And with the radio play money we were getting, we never paid ourselves, but we made it all happen. Yeah. And it was incredibly empowering. And it made us realise that you can do it yourself.
So was it a case of... getting noticed by playing live, or did you have other ways and means of getting noticed, apart from obviously the songs?
It was relentlessly playing live, but also writing a lot, recording a lot, and then through that getting radio play, and just doing everything. We'd open any show that we could open, and we'd headline any show we could headline, and we played every little festival out the back of every little farm. We just did everything.
So I mean, I saw you do a panel in Battle at how to become successful or how to get ahead in the music industry or something. Yeah. And there's some great insights from yourself and from the other panellists as well. But it was your idea. It was a sort of the real DIY thing, which is obviously what you're talking about. I mean, any bands out there now, it's a way to do it. So how do you go about that in some ways? How do you do it yourself? Is it easy to do it yourself?
It is. I mean, one major thing is money, and if you want to get money, the only way you can get money is to play. And then once you're at that show, you need to sell CDs, and you need to make sure that you hold on to those people that are your fans. So obviously now you do that through Facebook and Twitter, but really, your fans are owned by Facebook and owned by Twitter, and those websites do everything they can to withhold those fans from you, so you can pay them to then get access to them. So the thing to do really. And Trent Reznor was way ahead of the game when he said this, but you've got to accrue some kind of mailing list, so you can email people directly and say, we're out on the road, or here's a CD, or whatever. And you've got to try and get the more that you can do to try and get your fans as close to you as possible, the better. But I always preach mailing list. I preach giving away songs for free. Give away your best song for free. Take an email address, because if that song can end up on a mixtape or at a party, that's when word of mouth is where your band is really going to spread. T-shirts for the last album said, have you heard of a band called Tom Williams and the Boat? Because that's really how you get the word about. Yeah. You can hustle and hustle and hustle for a big magazine piece or a big piece. You go, Radio 1, if we could just get Radio 1 play, everything will be fine.
That's right.
But it doesn't happen like that. You can get played on the daytime on Radio 1 and nothing happens. And you can get played in the 2 o'clock in the morning on Radio 1 and you get offered a session, or you get offered a gig, or you get a flurry of CD sales through.
But I believe you also go so far as to sort of crowdsource where you play your gigs to an
extent. We did that as an experiment. It was good, actually.
So how does that work?
Well, we just put
a novel approach.
we put a list of cities up that we wanted to play, and then once a city got over a certain amount of pre-sales, think it was 50, then the gig gets confirmed.
Right.
That was fun, actually. Because we knew that every city we turned up at, it wasn't going to be empty.
Well, yes, it's not a wasted journey.
And what happened is people that really wanted us to play their city would make it happen. They say, I've just bought 10 tickets for everyone on my floor in the office,
right,
and we're all coming, and they've all never heard of you. You know, that's great. 9
potential new converts for start. But...
Exactly, yeah. And that passion of that hardcore is what spreads the word.
So I was going to come to that because it seems to be the whole thing's gone a bit niche in some ways, the music market, but people will believe in especially smaller bands.
Yeah,
they're like their pet band, and they want to, and because
people want to help.
Yes,
people want to be part of it. That's why we've had so much fun doing these like pledge music campaigns and stuff. A lot of people think it's a kind of. I remember having an argument with an old manager once because we did it for the second Boat record, Teenage Blood. For the second one, he wanted to do it again. And I said, we can't do it again. You know, we've done that. We've been there, done that. It's boring now. And he said, how is it more boring than just putting it out like a normal record, like everyone else does every day?
So I was going to come to that. So you might as well cover that now. I mean, Pledge Me, for anyone who isn't aware of what that involves, it's basically crowdsourcing to get money specifically for musical projects.
Yeah, so, but for fans and for artists, what it really is, it's an elaborate pre-order.
Yeah.
And then what the band does is it goes to a special effort to offer fans stuff above and beyond what they can normally get. So normally you get you can buy the record, or you can buy the CD, or you can buy the T-shirt and the CD together. Ooh.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
But on Pledge, it urges you to offer things like handwritten lyrics, or signed posters, or original artwork, or the chance to be in a video, or a gig at your house, or write a song with me, or
you can use your imagination.
Use your imagination, yeah. And so for the people that want a bit more, that's for them.
And it's a personal touch. I suppose if you feel that I've donated £5 or 10 quid towards that album, it's that personal involvement, isn't it?
And it's not. A lot of people think. I remember getting emails from other people, kind of on the DIY scene, and they were like, "You can't do another pledge. You're pushing a fan base too hard." And I just said, it's not like that. You're not asking. You're giving as well. I'm us as a band, or me as an artist, or whoever, are giving that fan or that person or that crowd a far more rewarding experience of being a fan of that band. If I'm a fan of the Pixies, I'm not going to sort of get hot and sweaty about ordering their new CD. I mean, I would, because I'd be excited. But imagine if it had their actual scribbles on it, or for some people that really some people that really gets them going. That's really exciting. For other people, they're not bothered, and that's fine. They can just sort of grab the download or whatever. But yeah, I think it's great. I just think it just forces artists to get off their arse and just make an effort. You can't just whack it up on iTunes and Amazon and expect people to get excited, because it's boring.
Well, and say if people have got a personal involvement, they're more likely to preach about it and that as well, aren't they? But I mean, you put the boat to one side; they're in dry dock, so to speak. They haven't been scuppered, I understand. They just
no, they're off doing other things and having a lovely time. Chris and David are doing their band called Dead Ceremony, which is like an electro-y James Blakey kind of thing. Ant is doing stuff with Fee, his wife. They've got a band called Ant and Fee,
right?
Which is
kind of their name around.
Oh, they're great, and they're kind of like a Johnny and June type situation. Awesome, like really Americana-y, rootsy. I mean,
it's Johnny Cash and June Carter, I think.
I mean, just harmonies to weaken the knees, just amazing. And Josh plays bass. He's I think he's gardening, and he's moving house and just sort of enjoying some quiet. I mean, we did the boat for 7 or 8 years, and we released 5 EPs and 3 albums. That's about 50, 60 songs recorded, let alone rehearsed. And it will do another one. But there's life as well, and
but I mean, to what you're doing is, going back to the Pledge Music thing again, is that you're actually recording some new songs. Mainly like acoustic, pretty well stripped down. And you're using the Pledge Music again, and that's gone pretty well so far.
Oh, we hit our target in about 4 days. It was mad, because I was worried, about how whether not having the band would bother people. I always got the band together because I wanted people to dance and mosh. And I was always really jealous of bands where the crowd was doing this. But no matter how loud we got, or no matter how groovy we thought we were, which was never very, Our crowd never did that.
It's still a bit of tune.
Our crowd did this, yeah. And so actually they were always a song crowd. They were a lyrics crowd. Yeah. And whenever you met them, they were like, oh, I'm really into Nick Cave and Tom Waits, and, you know, I'm really into, I don't know, you know, Bob Dylan and Neil Young. And I was always so thrilled because that's exactly what I was into. And so I actually this, you know, and I have done little acoustic-y bits, like there's been the Christmas song that Lauren Laverne's always played on Six Music.
Is that one of yours? I was listening to it yesterday. So
yeah, that's just me. That's just me.
And what was it called?
It's called Christmas So Much Better When You're Here.
That's right.
Now You're Here. And then what's the other acoustic thing I did? Oh, well, around the last album, we put out a little covers EP. We did a cover of solo acoustic covers of Dancing in the Dark by Bruce and Golden Brown by the Stranglers. And that ended up getting hammered as well. And actually, weirdly, I ended up on Six Music doing a live session with Keris Matthews on the week of release, solo, singing a Bruce Springsteen song.
Right. Were they sort of favourite songs, or just ones you thought, let's try these, something a bit different?
Born in the USA was what I listened to in the womb. You know, like before I could even speak, I was listening to Born in the USA and my mum's Mini. And that's still, I mean, I love Springsteen, and I love everything he's done. A lot of fans wouldn't agree, but Born in the USA is for me a masterpiece because it's every song is an absolute smash.
We're going back to the solo stuff. I mean, so you got to what are the plans? Is it 1 album, 2 albums, an EP, lots of?
Well, we're calling it a mini album. It's about 7 songs, about half hour of music, and it's going to come out in March.
It's got a name yet?
New Guitar.
New Guitar.
Be called,
Have you got a new guitar?
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, it's, you know what I
can't think of a name. No, I've got a new guitar.
No, but that was the first song I wrote. You know, and it was. We just moved down to Hastings. We're living in St Leonard's actually. We're living next door to the Horse and Groom. And I had new house, new guitar, and we were just recording Easy Fantastic, which was the last Boat album. And I was just, for the first time in ages, I was writing about life. And I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't thinking about.
We weren't writing for a purpose. These songs were just coming out.
Just writing for me, and I hadn't written for me in ages, and it was really refreshing. And I was writing about local characters and local places. And what then transpired is that we then ended up moving house 4 times in 2 years. And every time you do that, you unsettle yourself, and it's stressful, and you meet all kinds of new characters and new problems and new people that kind of change your life, and so these songs kept flowing. And
so a lot of them are actually inspired by Hastings and St Leonard's or the characters within the town.
Totally. I mean, obviously, there are songs about me and songs about me and Sarah and whatever we're going through, but, you know, New Guitar is about moving down here and living in Mercatoria. There's then songs called New House and Open Mic, and they're all about living in George Street.
I've heard the Open Mic night, and I thought, yes, this is because of what you were saying about
we lived above Whistle Trago, which was fairly raucous.
The ornaments jumping on the
yeah, they loved a hoedown at all hours of the day. Yeah.
So wait for the EP, and you'll hear the full story.
Yeah. Well, we'll play it tonight. We'll play them now.
Okay, but I mean, one of the things, as soon as I heard that, and I thought that's got to be about something. I was trying to imagine which bar or pub or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I mean, live music in Hastings and Old Town is what keeps a lot of these pubs going. You know, it packs the people in, and it's amazing. I mean, I remember a year ago, Hastings was voted one of the most musical towns in the country.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
And it's a huge part, and it's brilliant. I mean, come Fat Tuesday or something, everyone's got an instrument on their back, and everyone's playing in every pub, and it's awesome.
They never need an excuse to dress up and play music.
But sometimes when you've done an 18-hour day, and you want to eat some dinner, you'd quite like to be able to hear your telly, you know. But and then we moved to Grand Parade, and we spent a summer there. House got repossessed because the guy couldn't pay his rents.
Really?
So we spent that summer in court trying to not get kicked out, and they all feed into your writing. And then suddenly my writing became first person again, you know.
So was that easier? Was that more natural to go with a solo project rather than use that for the band?
It felt so natural and so good, you know, because the Boat had always really thrived on radio, and I was really writing with radio in mind, and I was really in that. Come the third Boat record, I was really obsessed with radio records, Tom Petty and before, if I was interested in like the Andy Warhol Velvet's album, now I was interested in the Loaded album and Sweet Jane and all those amazing kind of. I was really obsessed with crossover albums. Like I love it when Pixies do Here Comes Your Man, or Pavement does Range Life, or Cut Your Hair, radio hits. You know, when they're done well, or when they're done but still with the identity of the band completely intact. I was obsessed. Yeah. So with this new stuff, I could just write and not worry. And I wrote loads, and for the first time in ages, I was just writing. And
so I mean, the first EP or the first 7 songs mini album is actually all recorded, I believe now.
It's all done. Yeah, and it'll be out in March. And there is a sister album as well. And if it all goes to plan, it will come out as well later in the year.
So is that all part of the same Pledge Music campaign? You're going to have yet another one? To
annoy
your manager even more. So, yeah. No, not another one.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we'll do it. We might do another Pledge. I mean, we've always been big on vinyl.
Yeah.
And we haven't done any vinyl for this one because it's kind of not enough songs. But if the second one comes out, we could always do one. Each side could be each mini album. That would be nice.
Yeah.
You know, call it New Guitar and New House or something. That would be good. But we need to see how it goes.
It's a bit of a concept album. Yeah. 2 sides.
But the idea is just to, write songs quick, travel light, play loads of shows.
Yeah, because you have been, I was about to come to that, because you have been doing shows recently. It's just a couple of you, isn't it? The 2 of you?
Yeah, just Sarah and I. Sarah's kind of my one-man band. She plays cello and piano and sings.
Presumably on the record as well.
On the record as well. And then also on the record we've got amazing cello players, and Anne and Fee, who I mentioned previously, they sing as well. And it's been really good. And just keep it quiet and get it back to the lyric and just keep it focused and make sure the lyric's really good and tell the story. And it's great live because I can just talk and tell stories, and I can tell people about all these houses and all these characters and all these places. And
yeah, I suppose if it's a solo performance or relatively solo performance, you've got a bit more time to be intimate with the audience in a way. It's not like a band where you've got to,
And it's gone back to where it all started for me.
Yeah.
And it felt really natural. And
is it quite nice to go back to that?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I loved it. Some of my favourite shows I've ever
re-energised yourself in a way.
Absolutely. And when we go back to the band will feel better for that. Well,
they're doing their own little things as well.
Yeah.
So, have you got any tours coming up to promote the album?
We're touring. We're touring in February and March.
Yeah.
And we'll announce dates in the new year, but everything will be at tomwilliamsandtheboat.co.uk. So that's the place. Or on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah.
We'll do a launch gig here at the Crown in March. Off the top of my head, it's a Thursday night. But I can't. I'm not sure we've actually nailed down the date yet. But it'll be in this corner.
Don't announce it just yet.
Yeah.
And I know you're playing Beatles Day next year, which is sort of getting involved in the local scene. We're talking about Fat Tuesday and coming on playing a few Beatles songs.
But when I was asked to do Beatles Day, I leapt at the chance because I thought, then I'll be a real local.
Whoa.
Then I'll be officially inaugurated.
Someone once described it to me as it's the locals' outing, sort of the local musicians' outing, and everyone goes there and does their bit, and plays other people's
Well, I played Blackbird for years,
and
Here Comes the Sun for years, and songs like Across the Universe. I love those kind of more contemplative. But the one I've never learned is Mother Nature's Son,
which is one of the ones I think you wanted to do.
Yeah, and so I signed myself up for that one immediately because I thought I've got to learn it by then. I love that song.
So, I mean, were they an inspiration? Because, I mean, obviously they were for so many
people. I only got into them when I was like 19.
Really?
Never listened to them before. And then I listened to them solidly for 2 years.
What's up with those conscious things? Because I was a bit like that myself. I'm not a player.
Yeah.
But you didn't listen. You thought, well, I've heard all them songs. Surely.
No, I hadn't heard any of them, really. I heard I heard the number one album.
Yes, exactly.
And I hadn't really heard anything that interested me.
Yeah. You thought you'd heard it all and you hadn't. Yeah.
But the first albums are like punk albums.
Yeah.
Saw Her Standing There.
It's awesome. Great song.
And then you've got all like the left field kind of acoustic stuff on the White record. You've got the psychedelia stuff like Tomorrow Never Knows, and Magical Mystery is one of my favourite records. I mean, you can't beat the singles on that record.
I always thought they were on Sgt. Pepper, but they're not. Penny Lane.
Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane were the first records cut for Sgt. Pepper, weren't they?
Yeah.
But then also Let It Be's got a really sparse, very 70s dry thing to it as well, despite the Phil Spector stuff. And then at the end,
naked version, that's the one.
Yeah, although I was mortified that they left out Don't Let Me Down, because that was one of my favourite songs. Well, he left out Don't Let Me Down, I guess.
Anyway, so rather than go off onto a big Beatles tangent, sorry to ask. I know you're big on the social media thing, and is that one of those things that you'd actually tell any new artist to do? You know,
well, if it suits them, you know, I find it really useful to just keep in touch with them because I'm interested in people.
Yeah.
And I like meeting people at shows, and that's, you know, like to think I'm a friendly chap, and that's just part of who I am.
Is that a bit time consuming though sometimes? I mean, okay, you might want to do it, but you just travel 300 miles, done a gig and...
No, it happens. I love it. And I like, you know, if I'm going to Leeds, I know I'm going to see Rich again and Steve, and I see them all, and Dean, and I know all the people in Leeds, and I know if I'm going to go to... but it's what it's all about, because music, you know, it's real life, and people work all day to spend money to come and see you, and they spend a lot of money to buy merch and T-shirts and records and posters, and it means a lot, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed. And I put a lot of work into what I'm going to give them, and so it's always an extended family that keeps growing. And for me and what I do, that's totally natural. If you'd rather wear a black cloak and sweep into the venue with your sunglasses on, then that's also cool, you know, in a way.
In a way, yeah.
But then I don't want to see an Instagram of your breakfast because that feels a bit contrived.
So it's that sort of personal touch ultimately.
For me, it's totally natural. That's totally who I am, and I love meeting new people, and I love talking to people, and I love that side of it. It's not a sweat for me at all. I think that's why I so enjoy the Pledge stuff, and I so enjoy the Facebook and the Twitter. And
well, you must get to meet your fans in that way.
I know
before you physically meet them.
Yeah,
you meet
I know
them digitally or virtually or whatever.
I know them all. Because you know, we tour a lot, so every time we go to a new city, we meet the new people. And what's nice is they come and say hello to me. You know? Yeah. And yeah, I do know them all. It's great. I love it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great place to end. You love it, and hopefully you're going to continue doing it, whether it be with the boat or by yourself. Thanks very much, Tom Williams.
Thanks, Andy.